Good morning, Husker fans. Welcome back to the Husker Big Red YouTube channel. I'm Chris Peterson, and joining me as always is Danny Gillette. And we're back here on this Monday morning for our Fallout episode. We're going to look back at the last week of Nebraska athletics, looking back at the second week of fall camp. We've also got the volleyball inter-squad scrimmage from Saturday, as well as a major commitment for women's basketball over the weekend, with Amy Williams reeling in a 5-star and having a top 5 recruiting class right now. So we're going to touch on all of that stuff right now, as well as even some NFL preseason highlights with some Nebraska Cornhuskers doing some positive things. So we'll touch on all of that. Before we do, make sure that you hit the subscribe button, get into the comment section, hit the like button. And Danny, how are you on this Monday morning?
I'm doing well. My Patriots won in their preseason opener, so I can't complain there. They look pretty good, and sports are heating up. Football, volleyball, basketball news. So this is actually a good time of year for me, even if it's a Monday.
Yeah, I mean, the NFL season is coming quickly. So, yeah, we got some actual football, some preseason football this past weekend. Got some more scrimmage in for the Huskers. You got some volleyball happening on Saturday. So, lots of fun times if you're a sports fan in general, not even a Nebraska fan, but just a sports fan in general. So, but yeah, let's look back at week 2 of fall camp. It's crazy that we've got 2 scrimmages now in the books for the Huskers, 2 full weeks. It really, the way that Matt Rhule kind of talked about it, like this will be the last kind of full week of training camp. They'll have their final scrimmage on Saturday. And then, yeah, I mean, from today, it's the 11th, so we're 17 days away now from the season opener. So yeah, it's getting here quick. But what are some things that stood out to you, I guess, from this past week? And Matt Rhule talked with the media on Saturday. They had their other scrimmage. So what were some things that kind of stood out to you? I guess we'll start there.
The fact that Isaiah Mosey was getting reps with the ones and looks to not only be just a gadget player in the running back room, but a viable, option in the running back room, and could see significant reps, in my opinion, this season.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty notable, not just about Mosey, but that Matt Rhule really expressed a lot of confidence in the running backs. He said, if people don't believe we have 3 good backs, I think they'll be surprised. And
I know we haven't necessarily, but
yeah. And I mean, Quentin Ives still isn't healthy. He's hopefully going to be back this week. So I mean, I believe that when he's talking about the 3 good backs, I mean, Emmett Johnson, Mackay Nelson, excuse me, and then Isaiah Mosey working his way in the mix. I've heard some positive buzz about Connor Booth as well. It's excuse me, it's kind of interesting. I haven't heard a ton about Jamarian Parker. I think it's because he's been hurt, but Connor Booth has got some positive buzz too. So there's a chance that he could work his way into the mix as well.
If they're healthy, play him, because you don't know if you're going to have him next year. That's always been my thing. And hey, if they can make an impact right away, then that's always a good thing. And now you're looking at, okay, Mosey, Nelson, Emmett Johnson, Connor Booth. That's 4 solid running backs where I would personally feel comfortable going into a game with one of them starting. And now we go from not a lot of depth in the running back room to a lot of depth in the running back room, and that's certainly a good thing, especially, and I'll always reference this because I think it kind of just shows the position. I don't know if you remember in 2023, by the 3rd week of the season, our running back room is decimated with injuries, so you can never have too many running backs.
No, you never can. That's why I'd still like to see Quentin Ives get back and get him ready for the season opener. Because I mean, if Emmett Johnson goes down, I still think there's a lot of talent in that room, but it does seem a little bit light, especially on experience. But we'll see. Experience doesn't really, how do you get experience? You have to play. So
trial by fire, right?
Yeah, like Mackay Nelson has never played before, so I mean, who knows? The experience could be a good or bad thing for him. But I mean, he's a guy that is a dynamic runner. I've heard a lot of good things about his pass protection ability. So I don't see any reason why Nebraska would, not have confidence playing him as a RB2 in that week 1 game against Cincinnati. And he's a guy that should be a freshman this year. He should be a true freshman this year, but he reclassified, redshirted, and so instead of spending his senior season in high school, he basically spent it at Nebraska. And so this is a guy that I think is really underrated in terms of where he is ranked in terms with his recruiting ranking and stuff like that. I mean, he was a 3-star prospect, but there probably would have been a chance that he might have been a 4-star had he stayed in this class. So that's just something to keep in mind for for Nebraska fans and why Nelson, seems like an under the radar guy, but probably wouldn't have been if he stayed in his original class.
And let's be honest here too. If he played football in a state like Alabama or Florida instead of Connecticut, he probably would have gotten a 4-star. I mean, you do see favorability in rankings in that way, but I'm really interested to see how Mosey's breakaway speed translates to the running back room. I think it'll translate fine. I mean, he obviously played some in high school, but I'm curious to see in a positive way how that kind of shows itself at the collegiate level, and it's exciting. I'm excited to see him try out the running back position, and when you look at the wide receiver room, there's a lot of talent there. So I'm just happy that Mosey's able to see the field and could see the field in a big role, albeit at another position.
Yeah, because you look at the wide receiver room, I think it's pretty the depth chart I think is pretty set there. I know there's a lot of Quinn Clark and Keelan Smith and some guys are making a push up and kind of making some waves and a positive impression, but I don't really see anybody pushing. I think obviously Dane Key, number one, looked like he had a touchdown catch in their scrimmage the other day. There were some highlights of him, which was good to see after he was on the bike last week. So he looks 100%. Isaiah Hunter, we've talked about Ja'Cory Barney, and then Cortez Mills, who had a nice reception. I think it was on Saturday.
Yep.
I can't quite remember, but I know I saw a highlight of Dylan Raiola throwing a touchdown to Cortez Mills. So I think that was last week. I mean, sometimes those get a little jumbled up in my mind, but he's been turning heads either way. And if you talk about deep threats, I think Cortez Mills might be as good a deep threat as anybody on this team. So talk about freshmen who can make an impact, who probably still being talked about enough. I think Cortez Mills is definitely one of them.
Do you think that it will be a scenario where he sees the field, late November for like final 4 games of the season, or do you think there's a chance that he could play like September, October even, and get him on the field right away?
Oh no, I think he'll be on the field right away. I think we could see him catching passes in the first game. I think, it wouldn't surprise me to see them take a shot down the field to him in the first game, because it's kind of like I said the other day, when I think Nebraska and Dana Holgorsen are going to be able to hunt matchups a little bit. They're not always going to have, your four wide receivers. I think Nebraska's going to be playing an 11 personnel quite a bit, 3 receivers, tight end, running back. But when they do have their 4 wide receivers out there, Mills, Hunter, Barney, and Key, like, who are you going to match up against? And one of those guys is probably going to have a mismatch. And I think that's something where Dana Holgorsen, I think, is going to be very good about hunting those mismatches, dissecting who has mismatches, and taking advantage of those. And that's just something that they just didn't really do well enough, I don't think, with Marcus Satterfield. And even though Holgorsen isn't an NFL head coach, I think he's going to have more of that NFL mindset of like, this is how we attack a defense, and we're going to get certain players certain amount of touches and trying to find kind of those mismatches. I think that's what good offensive coordinators do.
And, I think this will be a chance for Da'Keil Shorts to really kind of prove what type of wide receivers coach he is. And I think he's very good. I've seen the practice footage and I've heard him talk in interviews. I think he's going to be a really good wide receivers coach. And now he's going to have a really good chance to show it.
Yeah, that was a big time hire. And, there were definitely some issues at that position last year. And it is kind of, there's a lot of intricacies to playing receiver, blocking, route running, all those different types of things. And this offensive system, isn't an easy one to learn either, I don't think. So having a legitimate coach who's had experience with Holgorsen, I think, is really going to help, this receiving core and just kind of get that coaching experience that they didn't have. They had a guy coaching him who wasn't a receiver, never played receiver before. Garrett McGuire, they just were like, well, we'll let Garrett McGuire coach receiver, even though he's never played receiver. It's like, I understand he had some knowledge of the game, but he really truly set back the wide receiver room, in my opinion. And so I think I'm just glad that, Garrett McGuire is not coaching Cortez Mills, because I just don't think he had any clue what he was doing, as evidenced by the fact that he's now coaching running backs. So it's like, he's kind of an offensive whiz kid, which is fine. But in terms of a position coach, he had no fundamental understanding of how to coach wide receivers. And it was pretty clear when you saw Nebraska's wide receivers play the past 2 years. They had no idea what they're doing.
Well, I don't think a lot of them were honestly that good either. I think when you look at the talent they have right now in comparison to the talent they had, 2 years ago, sure, John Bullock was fine. Alex Bullock was fine. And sure, Isaiah Nair kind of, served his role. And Jamal Banks served his role, but I think when you look at this group of wide receivers now, they're miles better than what Nebraska has had in I don't know how long, last 10 years,
Yeah, and just but
ever.
even yeah, and well, yeah, maybe ever in terms of because it's the passing game's never been that much. I mean, for the past 20 years, it's been more of a pass focused offense. But this could be the best receiving core that they've had. I mean, they've had some good ones, but it's just like a guy like Ja'Cory Barney, like he's got so much talent, and now having somebody who can really kind of teach him all the intricacies of route running and like teaching him how to truly be like develop his craft. I think that's just going to be invaluable for this
Yeah.
for guys like that. So I truly think that's one of the reasons why like we're seeing Ja'Cory Barney getting so much buzz in camp. Like he's really getting coached by the kind of guys that can help develop you, and so that was another key addition I think to this coaching staff. And in terms of key additions, I guess to segue to another talking point from this past week to the coaching staff, Mike Eckler, man, he's made a huge impact here. And I don't know if I've ever seen a coach talking up their punter as much as Matt Rhule has been talking up Archie Wilson here over the past few days. So what are your thoughts on that? And how big of an impact is he going to make on this team this year, Archie Wilson?
Punters are people too. I mean, that's my number one thought, and they never get enough love. So I'm glad to see Archie Wilson getting some love. Hopefully, he won't make a big impact on the game because he won't need him because he'll be scoring touchdowns. But I think just having a reliable punter, and that goes back to just a reliable special teams unit overall is going to be crucial. I really love the Australian style punters. I remember watching Lou Headley with the Miami Hurricanes and just fascinated, like just the rollout and all the talk about the intricacies of getting kind of that rugby kickoff, and it was cool to watch. And Archie Wilson just seems like a really fun guy to be around, and I'm really excited about what Mike Eckler can bring to the table. In terms of special teams, I'm watching the field goal unit. I think punting will take care of itself. I'm kind of seeing where the field goal unit lies and where that kind of goes, because quite honestly, I think that they have, at least 2 capable field goal kickers, maybe 3 if Alvano is ready to go. So, I mean, I'm very curious as to how that will play out.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see with all 3 of those guys, how that plays out. But they've added, a new place kicker. They added a new long snapper. They added a new kick returner. So I feel like in a lot of ways, the special teams are going to be upgraded. But Archie Wilson, yeah, we'll see. In terms of his impact, yeah, hopefully he doesn't have to, be on the field that much. But I think he could make an impact with, trying to flip the field. When they're, when your offense is backed up and you need to kind of have a good punt for field position, that could be something where he could make an impact, or just pinning people deep, inside the 10, inside the 20. That's something Nebraska could do a better job at, I think, trying to set up their defense and, playing complementary, football, so to speak. But yeah, it just feels like, special teams, instead of being a hindrance, will actually help Nebraska this year with some of these guys in the return game, having the chance to make big plays. I think between one of those 3 kickers, I just feel like between one of those 3 kickers, because John Hall was solid at the end of last year. So I mean, if we could just even get that guy back, I'd be happy with that. So between the 3 of them, I feel like one of those guys hopefully can find some consistency. Hopefully it's not one of those deals where you have 3 kickers but you really have none type of thing. Hopefully they can find some consistency there. That's kind of the one thing that still worries me a little bit is, like guys start missing and then they kind of start running through kickers and we're putting a new kicker every, like, I really don't want that to happen. I really hope that they can find a guy and he can just be consistent. And, I don't want to have to do like a musical chairs of kickers this season. So that's like my worst case scenario, I guess, for the special teams.
Honestly, as long as a field goal goes to the uprights, I don't care if Tony the Tiger and, Lucky the Leprechaun switch off and make field goals. As long as the ball's, kick is good, then I'm good with that. And it's interesting, going back to Archie Wilson, Matt Rhule called him the most interesting man in the world. So if Archie Wilson somehow struggles with punting, which I don't think he will, at least he'll bring the vibes. So that's good. I can imagine he's very interesting and has a lot of cool stories.
Yeah, hopefully, I'm hoping that Matt Rhule's not not overselling Archie Wilson like he oversold Jeff Sims back in the day. So, hopefully this wasn't one of those instances where Matt Rhule's getting a little too hyped up himself. You know what I mean?
Well, I don't know. I mean, I could see where he was coming from with Sims because I think Sims did have talent. He just kind of got the yips. I can't really explain it. I do think there was something there, but I don't know. Sims just got the yips and it never worked out. And then I think he got in his head too much, and yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's just I think that Matt Rhule, I think he's kind of one of those like eternal. He's like an eternal optimist, I believe. So I think he's always going to have a slightly optimistic perspective, which I like. I'm not so. Sometimes I take a little bit of what he says with a grain of salt, just because of the Jeff Sim, just some stuff like that. But I'm not holding that against him too much.
And it's hard to be an eternal optimist around here. Let's be honest. As we found out, it's hard. There's not a lot of eternal optimism around here, which I get. I'm not faulting anybody for that, but we need some eternal optimism.
So yeah, we'll see. But punter, I think it's probably a little bit of a safer bet that he's going to live up to what he said. So I do think it's interesting that Rhule said like I've never watched punters before, but I'll sit there and watch Archie Wilson. So he must be quite a find. So I'm excited to. Well, I'm not excited to see him work because, like you said, hopefully I would love if I never had to see Archie Wilson once this year and just score a touchdown every time we get the ball. But when he does have to do work on the field, I'm excited to see what that looks like.
Yeah, me too. And I'm very. There must be a certain process. He gets a snap, he rolls out and kicks, or does he wait, roll out, then kick? Like, I am very curious to watch.
Yeah, I feel like he probably can, kick it a lot of different angles, and I believe he can kick for both feet. I believe I've read that. So I don't know how accurate that is. I'm not sure if that's like something they're going to be, trying to utilize during games, but I don't know. It's just
maybe some coffin corners. You don't see coffin corners too much anymore.
Yeah, it seems like he's kind of more of a specialist and has been training to do, this type of thing. So it's interesting. I mean, I understand why, some recruits don't like when they get the Aussie rule punters coming in here, a guy like Archie Wilson. But I mean, they specialize on it with the rugby style kicking. So why not take advantage of that?
I wonder why Australia is like the home for rugby. Like I get like rugby is Australian sport, but I wonder why they like make punters like there's no tomorrow.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's just kind of like you kind of get that pipeline, and then they probably have some guys do it, and then they probably have. I think that I believe that like Archie Wilson kind of came from like an academy of sorts where they I think it's like they just kind of identify kids now and are like, hey, this is a need that's out there. You can go kick in America, and So I don't know. It's interesting how it works out, but a lot of guys have made their way and made a good living actually doing it in the NFL too. So maybe that's the next step for Archie Wilson. I mean, hopefully that would be sweet if he was like such a good punter that he gets drafted in 3-4 years.
So that's our punter symposium. I hope you enjoyed what we learned in fall camp week 2. Yeah. But yeah, I'm fired up. I'm fired up about Archie Wilson. I'm fired up that there's 17 days away until the season. And yeah, I'm very interested to see how the kicking game shapes out. I think those are my takeaways. But overall, I feel very confident. We'll see how long this confidence lasts, and we'll see if I feel the same way at midnight my time on Thursday the 28th.
I did want to mention, I guess one thing that we've learned is that we've still got at least one position battle brewing on the offensive line. I guess you could say 2. It's not like we've announced any starters, but both tackle positions still kind of battling up in the air. Elijah Pritchett, Gunnar Gatula on the one side, Teddy Prochazka. It feels like he's pulled ahead. Teddy Prochazka, Tyler Knack, and then I saw Grant Bricks mentioned as a third guy for tackle, so I thought that was kind of interesting.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean this battle continues to rage on. So how do you handicap that? Who do you think is going to emerge as the starter? Like, what do you think the week 1 offensive line is going to look like?
So I like that the battle is still going on. I feel like that means that there's 2 quality linemen that they can't decide who's going to start versus not having enough linemen and we're panicking about who's going to start. I feel like it's going to end up being Prochazka and Elijah Pritchett, but I don't think he's going to win that battle running away. I think it's going to be a close battle, and I would feel comfortable with either Knack or Gatula, if that's what it ends up being. So I think it's a good problem to have. Like I said, I like that the battle's still going on. To me, it means that there's depth there, and we haven't had depth on the offensive line like this in quite some time. And yeah, I kind of like it. I like it.
Yeah, I definitely think it's interesting. It's a good sign that you've got, I think, 4 quality tackles that you feel pretty good about, which, like you said, isn't something we could say about Nebraska in recent years. I also think that Pritchett's probably going to end up winning this job. It does make
Yeah.
me wonder, if Gatula's that close at left tackle, would they possibly move him over to the right side and kind of throw him into the mix there? Um, I mostly just think that I think how it's going to play out is, and it wouldn't shock me, I guess, if this did go into the regular season a little bit, like if they go into that Cincinnati game, like rotating, like Pritchett plays a series and maybe Gatula plays a series. I know people don't love doing that on the offensive line, but if it really is that close, I mean, how do you decide? Like, I just don't know. I mean, you flip a coin. Like, do you put them out there, and
Yeah.
whoever plays better against Cincinnati and Akron, and you
Yeah.
go from there? Like,
That's what I would do. I mean, it's not a case where they both suck. They're both really good, So
yeah,
it's not like, oh no, we don't have a guy here. We gotta rotate, see what happens, make the best of it. It's like, okay, who's gonna play better out of 2 really good offensive linemen?
and and then you wonder if, 'cause I think how it's going to ultimately work out is Pritchett will start on the left side. I think Teddy Prohashka will be starting on the right side, and I think Gunnar Gatula is essentially going to be your swing tackle. I think, so like if for instance you get into that first game and maybe Teddy goes down or gets an injury, maybe it's Gunnar Gatula coming off the bench instead of Tyler Knack. Like, I don't know if just because Gatula's practice at left tackle, it doesn't mean he's not going to, like, if there's a need on the right side, like, I don't see why he wouldn't be the first person off the bench, especially if it really is that close with Elijah Pritchett. I mean, I know he played left tackle last year, but I've always thought, bump him over to the right side and see what he can do. So that could be a possibility as well. But either way, I think you have to feel good that you've got 4, and if you count Grant Bricks, maybe 5 quality offensive tackles on this team. So that's a great place to be in terms of depth.
And I feel like with Teddy, there's no guarantee that he can make it through a full season given his injury history. So I feel like having a contingency plan is never a bad thing there either.
No, not at all. But if it does work out, he 6'10", top 100 recruit. You've got Pritchett, who's been mentioned as a potential first round pick. Then you've got 3 guys on the interior who I think all have professional football in their future: Leptoski, Spindler, and Justin Evans. So this offensive line could be really good. I mean, really, it could be in the top 5, I would say, in the Big Ten, which Nebraska has not been anywhere close to that. So in terms of, I mean, if we want, like, in terms of quarterbacks, I would say Nebraska is, I would say Nebraska's in the top 5 of Big Ten teams. I don't think that's a crazy thing to say with Raiola. I think the offensive line, I think you could make a case for Emmett Johnson being one of the, maybe one of the 5 best overall backs in the Big Ten. I mean, maybe. I'm saying in the conversation. And I think receiver, I think you could say Nebraska has one of the 5 best receiving corps in the Big Ten. So if you look at this offense, I mean, truly, there's no reason why this offense should not be a top 5 offense in the Big Ten this year, and like a top 20, top 25 offense nationally. Like, I really don't see any reason why they can't be that this year.
I feel like this running back room is going to surprise a lot of people. I really do.
Yeah,
I really do.
And when you have, because you have this offensive line, and then when you have to defend this passing game, like, how is anybody going to defend Nebraska with like 8 guys in the box? You can't. I'm sorry. Like, they will card you up. I know Matt Rhule said that last year, and it maybe didn't like come quite to fruition. But Dylan Raiola still threw for 2,900 yards last year.
Yeah.
I mean, let's not act like this pass offense was. Yeah, exactly. And as a true freshman, and with guys dropping, I know he only had 13 touchdowns, but if guys don't drop a bunch of passes, he probably has like 15 or 16 touchdowns to like 9, because like 2 interceptions literally were in the hands of receivers and were ripped away. And one, you know what I mean? It's like, so
Jalen Lloyd and Isaiah Neyor, they're both no longer here.
So like at some point, like you said it last year, like you got to make a play for your quarterback, and they just weren't doing it. Yeah. So it's like, I know people are skeptical, but I just don't see any reason why this offense can't take a massive step forward this year.
I can't either, and I'm excited for the defense too. I mean, you look at that group of linebackers. You look at the secondary, which I feel really good about for the first time in, I don't know, maybe 5 years or so. I mean, this this team is probably the most complete team that we've seen in, I don't know, since I've been covering. So 2019, probably the most complete team since I've seen. I don't know how long it's been for you, but I feel really good about this team.
This has been, the best team in quite a long time. I think defense, a lot of depth. The one where I still have, and my one reservation, when I was doing 5 things I learned for HuskerBigRed.com, is that it's like who are the all Big Ten players on this defense? Who were like the all Big Ten players? Maybe Sayer Wright, maybe like a Vincent Shavers. I mean, there's other guys that have the potential, but I'm just saying, like, there's not a lot of. I could say that on offense too. There's not a lot of guys that you're like, he's going to be first team all Big Ten. You know what I mean? Like, we're like Jeremiah Smith, or like I know you don't like Drew Aller, but he's going to be like one of the top 2 or 3 quarter.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying? Like, so that's the one thing that I think this team has a lot of great depth. I just think they need some stars to emerge. They need Dylan Raiola to be a star this year. They need Emmett Johnson. Some of these offensive, they need some of these guys to truly be, all Big Ten caliber players. I know postseason honors don't mean everything, and they sometimes aren't always fair, but I do think Nebraska needs some guys to kind of establish himself as, among the best 2 or 3 players at their position in the Big Ten. And that's still kind of a question that I still have. How many guys like that do they have on this roster?
I think we'll get a better idea postseason, like you said. And, there's just so many new and young faces that they kind of have to develop. And, like, I think Carter Nelson could be that type of player. I think, Dylan Raiola could be that type of player. I think Andrew Marshall could even maybe be the type of player defensively. I think a lot of people don't realize what he brings to the table. And I know I've been beating the Andrew Marshall drum for quite some time, but I think he's a really good player. And so I think there will be a couple, but everybody's just so new, and we don't know how all the pieces are going to fit together yet. But I do think by season's end we'll see a couple for sure.
Yeah, for sure. I definitely think so. So we'll see kind of how that works out. Let's go, but quickly before we'll switch some talk to basketball and volleyball. Just preseason stuff. I know Ty Robinson had a good day. Adrian Martinez kind of had a good night on Saturday night. Was there anybody else that kind of caught your attention from Nebraska players in the NFL?
Ty Robinson had a sack. I think we talked about that. And then I don't know if this is a preseason game necessarily, but Omar Brown had 3 interceptions on Green Bay Packers Family Day. So there you go.
No, that definitely was a big moment for him. I know Thomas Fedoni had 3 catches for 22 yards for the Giants, and he did catch a 2-point conversion as well. So so there was a couple of nice moments there for Thomas Fedoni, who I think has a good chance to make something happen. Caught it from Jameis Winston, which is kind of interesting. Let's see. Looks like Isaac Gifford had a tackle in his preseason debut for the Carolina Panthers. Ben Scott played some in the third quarter for the Bucks. So did John Bullock, who had a deflection on a nice play that led to an interception, a tipped pass.
That sounds like John Bullock right there.
Yeah, and then Isaiah Nair's actually on my Green Bay Packers now after he was cut by the 49ers. Don't know that doesn't look like he made any stats or anything. And then Jamal Banks and Nash Huckmaker playing for the Ravens. Looks like they both got limited snaps this week. So hopefully they'll get a better chance to make a contribution next week. I still think that Nash, I would put that guy in my practice squad just to give him a year to develop and see what he could do, in the NFL, kind of bulk him up a little bit. Nair is just a guy, I feel like he'll probably make the Packers practice squad too, just because he's got, you look at his 40 times, he's got a lot of upside. I just don't think he's ever going to reach it. But, for a practice squad player, it kind of makes sense. So I think some of these guys will make the practice squad. I think Thomas Fedoni and Ty Robinson, I think will both make the Eagles and the Giants 53-man rosters.
Ty Robinson, I think, is going to be a shoe-in. Fedoni, as long as he stays healthy and he's good to go, I think he'll make the Giants 53-man. And I never realized the collection of Huskers players that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers had. And I was just looking at it again, and they have a lot of Huskers.
They do, and they got our guy Trey Palmer, who made it as a 6th or 7th round pick a few years ago.
Yeah.
So, so there's some guys making their way, and good for Adrian Martinez. I mean, I think he's going to be the Jets' backup this year if Justin Fields, ends up being the starter. So, I mean, if that's the case, good for him. I mean,
And he's a UFL champion, so
yeah, but he really did play well on Saturday because I'm a Packers fan, so I watched. It was miserable. The game was miserable from a Packers perspective, but it was kind of fun to see Adrian Martinez, ball out a little bit. So hopefully he can keep that going. So to switch gears a little bit, some of the other big news, the Nebraska women's basketball team, holy cow, they are on fire in terms of recruiting right now. Amy Williams landing Ashlyn Copel, a 5-star recruit, and it's really hard to kind of put this into perspective. I mean, Nebraska just has not had, a ton of big time recruits like this, but she's 6'2", and she's ranked 12th overall, according to the 24/7 Sports composite rankings. Talented interior scorer, rebounder, defender, but she can also shoot from three. She can attack the basket. I would call her a 3-level scorer. And then she joins Ava Miles, a 6-foot wing who committed back in July. She's ranked 65th overall. And on Friday, actually, they got a commitment from Maddie Stewart, a 5'9" guard from Tulsa, Oklahoma, who was expected to go to Oklahoma, and Nebraska ended up pulling out a commitment there. So right now, Amy Williams' recruiting class is ranked number 3 in 2026. So it's been a great week, and she's really kind of building something there with this women's basketball program.
And they also made the top 5 for Lily Bell earlier this week. So I don't know. There's a lot of good schools in that top 5, so I don't know if Nebraska will make it. But the fact that they're even in there says something too.
And yeah, so it's going to be really exciting to get some of these players coming with Britt Prince, and Natalie Potts will be back this year after she was the Big Ten Freshman of the Year and suffered a season-ending injury. So there's a lot to be excited about with this team this year and moving ahead into the future. So Amy Williams, of course, having ties to South Dakota, was a head coach there, and that probably helped. But still, I mean, Copel had like Duke had offered. It wasn't a huge offer sheet. Michigan State and some others, but she
good program.
A national recruit, and to get Britt Prince and now to get Copel, that's a big time commitment for Amy Williams. So she's doing a nice job. And then we were going to mention what's the men's basketball recruit recently
Colin Rice.
Yeah, so Colin Rice got a nice little update in the rankings. Yeah, he's up into the top 100 now.
I think he's 69th.
Yeah, so that commitment is looking better and better for Fred Hoiberg. So 6'7" Colin Rice. So that's a guy that I think is going to have a chance to make an early impact for the Huskers. Or even if he doesn't make an early impact, but a long-term impact, right? Like he could be it'd be nice to get more guys that are here for 2-3 years, right?
For sure.
And then wrap it up. Let's talk about some Nebraska volleyball. We had the red-white match on Saturday, and Rebecca Leak was really dominant. Had, I think, 16 kills, and I want to say 4 or 5 blocks, and she hit well over 400. Harper Murray had a great day with 15 kills. I think she had 9 digs. Andy Jackson, was solid. Some freshmen really stepped up as well. What were some of your impressions from the volleyball match on Saturday?
This team is loaded, and it's like, no crap. But when you look at how this team plays, and when you look at what they were able to do on Saturday, this team has all the talent to make a national tournament run. And like we talked about the other day, there's really doesn't seem to be any drop off with Danny Busboom Kelly. And I know you said, and I agree, that she could win the national title at Nebraska, no problem.
Yeah, I think she will. I think she's going to win multiple championships at Nebraska, but hopefully they start this year, because I would really love to see, or at least in the next 2 years, I'd really love to see Harper Murray and Andy Jackson, Becca Adlik, some of these girls, some of these ladies win a national championship. They've been so close, and it really hurt to not see Lexi Rodriguez get it last year. So hopefully they can break through. There's going to be, speaking of Lexi Rodriguez, Lainey Choboy and Olivia Mock are kind of battling for her old job. So that's, a fierce competition. And then you've got Bergen Riley, the 2-time Big Ten Setter of the Year, kind of holding off, Flynn Campbell to be, the setter. She's a dynamic freshman. You've got Sky Pierce, just a lot of talented players, some newcomers, I thought made a good impression. So yeah, it's a super. I can't imagine there's another team in the NCAA that's more talented than Nebraska. So they just have to go out and take care of business. But yeah, there's it's going to be exciting, and they're I think starting in 12 days now, and they start the season with 2 back-to-back matches against top 6 teams. So there's no cupcakes to start the season for Nebraska volleyball.
Yeah, you mentioned the younger players and the freshmen like Campbell Flynn and Minaya Obishi. I mean, you look at this freshman group, and the program is in good hands for the future. I know Bergen Riley had high praise for Flynn earlier this week, and it just goes to show that, even with a lot of these upperclassmen graduating next year, or final seasons, or even, one more year left, that this program is truly a volleyball factory that keeps churning out really good players.
And like, what's interesting is you have, Virginia Adriano, who came over from Italy. So she's a freshman, and she had some impressive moments. Kenna Cogill, who is a 6'4" middle blocker that Busboom Kelly recruited. She had some really nice moments as well. And yeah, this team is they're freaking loaded. I mean, it's unbelievable. Ryan Hunter is one of the top recruits in her class. Skylar Pierce, like these are girls that could be starting for most teams that are going to have a hard time seeing the floor at Nebraska this year, because there's just so much depth. Taylor Landfair, Ali Sheck, hopefully I'm getting that last name right, but who transferred over from Baylor as a senior to kind of help.
Sigler, I mentioned really good freshman.
Yeah.
I totally forgot her. I mean,
man. I mean, if you took Nebraska's second team, I wonder where that team would be ranked in the top 25.
Yeah.
But I feel like they would be. I mean, if you just assume, like, if we gave Bergen Riley the starting job and Lenny Choboy, so your backups could be Olivia Mock, Flynn Campbell, like Skylar Pierce, Ryan Hunter, Ali Sheck, Virginia Adrien. Like, it's just a crazy. A crazy team. Kenna Cogill, maybe Becca Alik would be your blocker on that second team. It's just there's a crazy amount of depth. So that's why when you're talking about this team, it really is, as much as I want to win another Big Ten championship, and outright one this year, it really is national championship or bust for this team.
I'd rather win the national championship this year than, if I had to choose between the two, national championship this year versus Big Ten title outright. Both would be sweet, but I want that national championship.
Yeah, it's going to be hard to call anything less than that a success this year, and that's just the expectation this team has created for itself. So hopefully they will live up to that, and hopefully we have met your expectations for this podcast today. So if you did like our content, please make sure that you hit the like button. If you haven't subscribed yet, do us a huge favor, hit that subscribe button, get into the comments section to let us know what you think about these offensive line battles, volleyball, basketball, anything related to Nebraska. And as always, go Big Red.
Go Big Red.